All right, take two of doing this, talking about Sky Baseball. I recorded for 45 minutes before I realized that my audio just didn't work. But now we're converted. We do have audio on this time. Um, and yeah, we're going to talk about some Sky Baseball. Yeah, I'm Troy, or Yortlab, as this league loves to call me. You can call me whatever, I really don't care. But here we're going to talk about more Sky Baseball, and I'm going to talk about each team's player that I feel like is going to be really underrated, and nobody is really talking about. So first, I want to start off with my own team, the Baltimore Orioles, and there's not a lot to be excited about with this team. I mean, we suck ass, but we're going to talk about Case Grant because he's slowly became one of the best power hitting catchers in the league. I mean, he was already a very good power hitting catcher beforehand, but his power is really showing up way more often. He has 19 this year. He had 27 last season. His WAR is already more than he had last year. He's on pace for over 5 this year. We're in a league where good catchers aren't really aplenty. And Case Grant's really good. He has a 138 OPS plus. He's been the best hitter on this team. He's been the best player for this team so far. I would call him the team MVP. And he's on a cheap arbitration contract too. He's up for extension soon. But Case Grant, really good, almost underrated player on the Orioles. Let's go to the Philadelphia Phillies next. And Randy Najera has really broke out with the Phillies as a free agent. Last year, I think he was released by New York. Um, Colorado picks him up again after he had 24 home runs for them the previous year, and he hits 11 in just 41 games. Philly signs him on a cheap major league deal. He's hit 13 home runs for him this year, a 1,000 OPS, 2.1 WAR already. So he's been a very productive player, surprisingly, for Trent so far. I would call him a player that's been underrated this year. Panico as well, but I feel like everyone knows at this point how good Panico is, especially for his role. We'll go to Memphis and we'll go easily to Stanton Rosenberg. This is a guy that was a former top prospect, but wasn't really valued highly because he wasn't deving as much as he should have. But then he devved up this past offseason, and he's at 330 for Memphis, 3 WAR so far, on pace for 8. I think he's in contention for Rookie of the Year so far. Um, Rosenberg, really good outfielder. Virginia is a team with a bunch of really underrated players. But I'm gonna go with Simon. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Gantenbein from Red Wing, Minnesota. Shout out Minnesota. He's at 300 so far. We've been worth 1.3 WAR so far. 13 home runs, 41 RBI, 65-60. Good power hitter with a great eye as well. This is another player that should be in the Rookie of the Year race. So far, we've touched on a couple of really good young outfielders for Sky Atlantic teams. We're starting in the Atlantic, by the way, because it is the best division in Sky. And then we're gonna go with Atlanta. We're gonna go to Atlanta. Emo Youngs is one of the best relievers in Sky, probably a top 3 reliever. And I feel like not a lot of people just talk about how um how D-Rich was able to identify him. He was a young reliever who was recently drafted by Colorado. Colorado gets not the best haul, it looks like now. Sex Sazarez is not a good international prospect anymore, but Youngs is really good already. He boosted up from 40, 55 to 60, 60. Last year, he's now 65, 65 with insane bars from top to bottom. He has a 1.99 ERA this season, a 0.97 whip. Really good. One of the best relievers in the game. I feel like, again, people just don't talk about how good he is with Kamiyama also in that bullpen. Then we go to Miami, who's been the best team in the Sky this year. We're going to go to Riley Egner, who had a boost from 40, 50, and 50, 60 to 60, 70 this year. And he's had a 2.65 ERA in 6 games. A player that's got the benefit of a massive depth boost that that Sam has really got taken to his advantage the last few years. So this is a player that's really underrated in my eyes for Miami and the rest of the league. Now we're gonna go to the East, and we're gonna go to the Yankees, and we're gonna go to Vernon Jones, a player that Jakob has really rated highly. He's a very good power hitting first baseman. He's young, he's 24 as well. He's on pace to hit 46 home runs this year. I think he's also in contention, potentially in contention. Is he eligible for Rookie of the Year? I'm not really sure, but hopefully. Um, he's had a year of service time, so probably not. But he would definitely be up there if the Rookie of the Year can't if he was eligible for Rookie of the Year. We'll go to Montreal next, and we'll go to Sean Darko, who is hitting over 400 so far this season in 57 games. He's on pace for nearly 10 more. Um, this is a guy who only played 23 games last year. Now in the middle of the Montreal lineup, he is on pace to hit. He is hitting over 1,000 OPS. As not a guy who hits a lot for power, but he's been shockingly one of the best pure hitters in the game this season. Then we'll go to Toronto, and we'll go to a catcher, Ryan Stanfield, who Eamon just called up. Now, he traded Mendy Perez away recently, so that's why this guy wasn't starting, but he's just a 60 overall catcher chilling at AAA. He's been off to a great start so far this season, on pace for 2 WAR. And again, good catchers are really hard to find in this game, and Eamon has found one with Stanfield. He's going to be really good as well. Then we're going to go to the Mets. The Mets are really confusing to me because Brandon doesn't talk in Slack, so it's hard for me to really gauge how good his team is outside of a guy like Otano. Greeley is probably the guy I would look out for. Pure contact hitter with a lot of speed. Has gone off to a good start for his first full season in the league. But again, I don't think there's really a lot to talk about with the Mets because I can't really gauge them well. Detroit in a rebuilding stage, but I know Tarlo wanted somebody to talk about Von Hunt. And Von Hunt is already a really good pure contact hitter with a lot of speed. He's hit over 300 this year. He's on pace for 3 WAR in his second in his another player in his first full year in the league. Yeah, he's really solid, and Detroit also has a really good farm system, and they have Rob Kaufman waiting in the wings injury wise, but that's for Detroit. For Boston, it's another catcher, Greg Piper. I know Tyler said that he was gonna trade everybody, but one of the guys he wasn't gonna trade was Piper, and Piper's already really good defensively, and he's gonna get there hitting wise. It's his first year start. It's his first year starting in the majors. Hit 333 last year at AAA. Former sixth round pick. Yeah, he is going to be he's already a top probably 5 catcher in the league already. I don't know how OSA thinks about that, but I like Greg Piper. I really like I like Greg Piper. They're a catcher, and I like Stanfield. They're catchers developing well so far in Sky as of late. And again, catcher is not exactly a position where it's easy to find really good catchers. And it's kind of seen a revival recently. So, so yeah, I Piper's a guy I like, and then we're gonna go to the Great Lakes. We'll go to the Minnesota Twins, everyone's favorite team with everyone's favorite GM. Talk about Corbin Holmes. Corbin Holmes is a guy with not a lot of stuff. His pitches aren't great, but he has great control, and it's led him to have a pretty solid season as the number 2 starter to replace Bush. I think the Twins pitching staff is a lot better than people have said. It's Alba hasn't had the greatest season, so with guys like Holmes and Anthony and Antonio Santiago, career minor leaguer, stepping up, and they still have one of the better bullpens in the league. With McClanahan as a closer, Zoss is developing well and is becoming the top prospect recently. I like how I like the I personally like the Twins. The GM, he Zach brought me into this league, so I can't exactly hate him. So we'll go to Indianapolis next. Solid pitching staff, solid hitting wise. Do they beat out Minnesota? Do they beat out Minnesota? I don't know at this point. Logan Bendick's the guy I'm going to talk to, a guy that hasn't even made his debut yet. He's number 32 overall prospect in the sky, a former first round pick, 45-70, good solid bars, great control, good stamina. He is ready to be a sky player. He'll probably be called up around call up day, though, kind of to replace their 4 or 5 starters because they don't really have a defined back end of their rotation. I know that's what Josh said. Then we'll go to Milwaukee, and we're gonna go to Milwaukee. Also, a team that realistically should be good, but they don't really have a lot of pitching. Their big free agent signing immediately got hurt. So we'll go with Ben Conley, the DH, another former top prospect who was called up last year. 17 home runs, 129 OPS plus so far, 65-80 potential. Great players that Milwaukee has gotten. They have great individual talent, just hasn't really came around yet for them. Another player to shout out is Robbie Chavez, who hit 41 home runs last season, 60-65. We'll go to Pittsburgh, who is actively trying to rebuild. Look at Carson Loveday. Loveday. Traded for a first-round pick. Has had a 5 ERA both seasons in Pittsburgh. Just barely worth one more. I just find it, really funny. I might not find it funny, but I personally find it funny. So, Loveday falling off a cliff, but this Pittsburgh team still trying to tear it down. Jason Berry, again, another catcher I'm highlighting because he is really good, and somebody just needs to give up 2 first-round picks for him. Just pucker up and pay the price at this point. It's not that hard. I'm not trading for him because I'm not in a position to trade that, but somebody in a position to do that should. He's only 25 years old. Cincinnati, I can't really name a good player. Maybe Cody Rogers, who has a lot of power, is a first baseman, but he strikes out a lot, and he's on pace for only 0.2 WAR this year because he can't play defense. So, yeah, again, there's not really much to say to be excited at the big league level currently for Cincinnati. They have a really good farm, but at the time, I'm not really talking about farm systems. The Indians, the Sento Bracamonte, another really good catcher who for some reason is at AAA, even though there really isn't, I don't think, any reason for him to be at AAA. Just play your young guy. He's only 22 years old, unless you're planning to trade him. He's a really solid catcher. And again, these kind of catchers don't come around often in the skies I've noticed. So I think I've highlighted 4 or 5 catchers just in this single video alone because of how scarce the position usually is in terms of young talent. But yeah, that's my preview of one player I would highlight for each team. I'll do the West in a different video. I've decided now at this point, but I think the East is slightly better than the West in some facets because of the best division in Sky, the Atlantic. But that's me just being biased. Let me know if you guys like these kinds of videos. This is my first guy, so any critiques, any feedback, you got any more topics you guys want me to talk about, I'll definitely talk about, and any improvements to this video you want me to make. So yeah, thank you for watching.